And welcome to Note to File, a clinical research podcast.
A collection of interviews, candid commentary, and general nonsense for the clinical research community.
Check us out at notetofilepodcast.com.
And now, without further ado, on to the show.
Hey guys, welcome to another Note to File, Sticky Notes. Denali, how's it going?
Good. It's been a busy week. How are you doing?
Good. Today's December 9th. A quick note, something I never remember to mention, but if you don't want to watch these on YouTube or LinkedIn, which LinkedIn's not always the best video platform, all of our episodes are available on audio. I have a real face for radio, so I'd advise listening to these on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever, Deezer.
Get Deezer on there.
Familiar with Deezer? That's where the real stuff's at. Anyways, it has been I don't know, it's just like a weird time of year, right? Where it feels like it's like busy, but also not busy at the same time.
I don't know, it's interesting. Yeah, I feel like half the folks are just checked out for the holidays. And we talked about I'll circle back in the new year. Be great. Don't worry about it. And I get it. There's distractions. You're thinking about the holidays, and there's just a different mental load that you're carrying around this time of year to detract from other stuff. But then there's all of the other half of the folks who are we need to get everything done before January 1st. And there's a push. Which the combo kind of sucks because it's a mental whiplash.
Yeah, we have a lot of monitor visits this month, and I know there's even there's a few data locks, and I don't know, because why not?
I feel like that's the worst time for monitors.
Travel,
right? Over the holidays.
I mean, that's why they make the big bucks, right?
I mean, sure.
I was in Houston on Saturday for
How was that? I saw some things on LinkedIn from Dan and folks about it. It looks like a great time.
It was really cool. I think, it's a nice turnout. I think we're trying to get out and do more regional stuff. I mean, I think it's hard. We've talked about this probably because we've talked a lot, but it's hard as a site to get out to conferences, period. It's expensive. So, we're trying to get out to where the sites are instead. So we hit up Houston. It was a nice turnout. Again, sort of small, intimate environment. Get to, talk with some vendors or sponsors there. A lot of sites.
What was the makeup? What was the makeup of who was all there?
I think it was mostly sites, which was, pretty neat. And then again, you got a couple of sponsors out there, a few vendors there as well. And that'll hopefully kind of continue to be the thing. We'll be in Raleigh in January. I don't know what the dates are because I'm bad at this, but you can look it up.
I do because I can't go. It is January 31st because my son's birthday is the day before.
There you go. Well, happy birthday to him. Probably have more fun at a birthday than hanging out with a bunch of research sites. But
it depends on who you're talking to. I mean, 8th grade, 8-year-old, 2nd grade, 8-year-old boy birthday party is a wild time. So.
I know. Yeah, that's fair. Minecraft probably, or
Minecraft could be a big one. Also, he's very into video games like Minecraft, Legends of Zelda, likes Pokemon, like Sonic. Minecraft is really big right now, though. Yeah, so we'll see. It could. Who knows? Who
does know?
I don't know. I don't know, man.
Kids these days,
the youth.
Who knows? Who knows what they're gonna like? All right. Well, let's just jump right in, shall we? Maybe. Yeah. I'm still getting used to a new computer, so I screw this up, then just, deal with it.
You're getting old. It's like watching my grandma work the VCR.
Hey. Yeah, probably. Anyways, this is something I think you sent over, and obviously it was,
I'm sure. Yeah. I think a lot of people probably saw this kind of come out end of last week. But it's a potential, I'm going to put a bunch of caveats around this. Potential changes and requirements coming up in the next 3 to 6 months about changes in the FDA for what they'll require as far as approval for a number of trials. There was a lot of very squishy language in this. So I'm hesitant to say this is happening and this is what it's going to be. But looking at reducing the number of impactful trials it will need before the FDA approves drugs?
So obviously, probably, I mean, you have to assume pharma's stoked about this, right? That's less money to spend on clinical trials. And
So I was thinking about this, like initial thought, yeah, right? Like you have to run less trials. That's going to reduce your R&D spend on running millions of dollars, dumping millions, billions of dollars and running a second trial or third trial or what have you. But the things that I thought was interesting about this is that also sort of then you have one shot to like prove efficacy, right? Or it's like, so if something gets messed up or it doesn't quite get to where you need it to be, is that potentially detrimental from the pharma perspective? I think the other thing I think when you pointed out about this too is that it's a well-designed trial.
right.
So like, what does that mean? And is that going to be a longer, more stringent trial?
Yeah, I'm curious to see that like part of it. Like, is it going to be, yes, they're going to have to make one much more complex trial because you've got to collect all the data you need in that one trial to essentially make up for two. And I know there are like probably statistical, tricks you can play in order to get what you need. But nonetheless, it kind of worries me in that, well, now it's going to be one real hard trial. It's not that they're easy now, but instead of two that might be more reasonable to try to enroll.
We need one really well-designed trial, which is something that's yet to
we
be
already don't have that.
We've never seen it before, but this is what we're going to move forward on.
Yeah. And I mentioned here there's still confusion at the regulatory level, which is obviously feels again like everything that we do. And it goes on to talk about a couple of examples of why, like, maybe some of this would or wouldn't be a good idea. You still got to worry. I mean, I think you also start to wonder about safety, right? Like if you're dealing with a smaller number of patients.
Yeah.
And again, I'm no statistician, but it's going to be harder to get those signals in terms of what's actually safe over the long term versus what's not. This started to like make up a bunch of like, okay, they want more. People pointed out the irony, like you want more research about vaccines, but you're going to let everybody else get away with, one trial.
Yeah. Well, then even if you do the research, doesn't fucking matter. We're going to disregard it anyway and say, hey, you don't need Hep B vaccines anyway. Yeah. We're going to disregard the science, even when you do it. So I guess this actually does align because we're not going to listen to the science anyway. So just do less of it because we're not listening to it anyway. Doesn't matter.
Really matter. We'll see. And again, you have to wonder about, it mentions here, if you're running, global launch, you're probably going to run more trials anyway, because you have to satisfy the requirements of,
other countries,
non-US countries that do exist.
Weird, right?
I know. So we'll see. I mean, I'm curious, obviously, as a site is going to mean there are less trials like to be a part of. Is this going to impact clinical research sites to significantly?
Is that a problem right now, though? Like not having enough trials?
Well, and it goes back to the sort of, it's not that there's not enough trials, there's not enough well-designed trials that are enrollable and actually meet or match the patient population that, you're sort of dealing with. So yeah, it's not so much a volume problem as much as a quality problem, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and again, I mean, it's just also like how much of this is actually going to stick to.
Well,
right. Like this whole thing is prefaced by like changes in administration, right? And we've not had exactly the most stable of FDA and HHS leadership right now. So something change. Who knows what else will change?
This very decision forced somebody into retirement.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we'll see what actually happens. And also shout out Doug. He's got some ideas on how to run clinical trials regulated by an ominously
new
quotation marked new FDA. So like to subscribe to your newsletter, Doug. So get to it. I'd love to see that. All right. Well, I guess we'll see. Again, as with most things, it's sort of hard to believe until we actually see.
You know what I would like to see? I mean, I actually wouldn't mind it if there was like conditional, like we had like less hurdles on the front side and then had more requirements post-market.
Yeah.
Because we design trials that aren't applicable to how the drugs are used in the real world. So yeah, maybe we reduce the piece. I mean, balance, right? But like reduce some of that and then require more real world, real people.
I mean, at that point though, the cat's like out of the bag. Like,
Well, you'd have to redesign the whole system. Yeah.
yeah, easy. Okay, no problem. We'll just do that.
It's new. It's the new FDA.
Right. Well, we'll see. We'll see how that works. All right. Anything else on that?
Nope.
Terrific.
What
This
else
caught
we
my
got?
eye, I think originally on LinkedIn last week. I wish I knew more about it, but this kind of gives me a little bit of the throwback to the whole Care Access Pfizer debacle when, you know, Pfizer had to throw out a bunch of Care Access's patients on a Lyme disease trial, I think, a few years back, and there was a bunch of sort of public blaming. This apparently, I haven't seen any more specifics, but BMS delaying, you know, Alzheimer's readout over site irregularities.
What would be considered a site irregularity? Like, is that?
I don't know, but it goes on to say that they've have to exclude certain patient data following irregularities in clinical trial execution at a few study sites, which, again, I don't even know what that would possibly mean. I'm actually curious if anybody out there knows more about this. I'd be curious to know if there's anything more specific. But I mean, it almost, what are reasons why they would throw data out? If it were falsified, if it were wrong, if it were...
I mean, unless there's something like where it's just the site was just completely winging it and like they're collecting data, but they're not following the protocol. So like, you're not following like timestamps or like visit windows or...
yeah, it's...
I don't know. Like, what would be enough to throw out data if the site's consistently just like not following the protocol, collecting data, they're taking blood pressure, but it's not when they're supposed to. It's not following scheduled events. I don't know. Like, if
also,
it's just, it'd have to be consistent enough too, right?
Well, and it also mentions it's not like a site; it's like sites. So, is this a network who all did the same thing, or maybe were there irregularities at one site, so to throw out data from another? It seems weird that or maybe unlikely that unconnected sites would all have multiple irregularities worth throwing out that much data. I don't know. You don't really see that.
What if there was like a shared CRA or something who is
maybe
misinformed and told sites how to do things incorrectly? So you have a chunk of sites that were doing things directed incorrectly.
Yeah, I mean, that's not impossible either. Again, it just begs more questions, which, is the thing for me. I want to know more. Our decision.
Does this stuff ever get released? I'm saying, do we ever find out about this, or we just see this and then it fades into the background?
That's a good question. I don't know if there are any actual there's not a mechanism by which we would ever know that necessarily, to my knowledge. But yeah, it makes me curious. I wish there were more transparency around it so that at least sites could learn, or everyone could sort of learn. I assume that's probably they're not want to ruin somebody's business by being these sites screwed everything up.
Yeah.
But, again, what we saw with Care Access was sort of I don't know if you remember, because Care Access came out and said, no, this is Pfizer's fault, not our fault. So I don't know. It's interesting. Again, not something you see every day. Again, makes me wonder if there was a big site network involved. You know what? I didn't do the most basic thing. I mean, we can go look up the trial on clinicaltrials.gov.
I think we should do that.
I might do. Oh, look, they even lay out the NCT number for us.
Perfect. Let's go sleuthing.
All right, let's find out.
Okay.
If we can.
Well, and you were mentioning this is an Alzheimer's disease study too. There could be things with patient populations and consent and stuff too.
But there's 119 locations. And now see, this is the bullshit right here that makes me real mad. about clinicaltrials.gov. Here's as much information as you can find out. Local institution and the name of the city. That's it.
Super helpful. Well, I mean, there's a whole concept of like, I saw the post on it earlier this week about, or maybe it was last week, about how like ct.gov actually was never meant to be like a tool to like find and access clinical trials. It's meant to be like a regulatory dump. That's why it's so shitty for like patients and providers, because it was never meant to be that.
Well, it certainly isn't that. So they did a good job making sure that's not the case. We can always, let's get really crazy with it. Let's just see if there are any, at any point they actually listed any of the sites. Anyways, I'm not going to belabor the point, but
so it's hard to know because they didn't actually tell us about the sites.
Oh, here we go. There's some listed in there now. See, okay. So at some point they actually did list.
I wonder if they went and redacted following this type of finding. to be really honest, like, or I mean, they're not recruited anymore, so you don't need to necessarily, I guess. Right. Well, but it's like, especially if they're coming out and saying, "Yo, there's some sites that fucked up on here." You don't necessarily want people doing exactly what we're doing. Where you go in and you're like, "Who are you? Who dropped the ball?"
I mean,
any themes that you're seeing?
I don't see anything that's like showing up a whole bunch, like more than a time or two that I can tell. But also, I don't know. I don't know what the like.
I'm assuming it was a global study, or was it more?
It is global. Yeah, it looks like there's some other. So there's a few that are listed in here a couple of times. I wonder if you could get even more. Well, you'll notice that the ones that are withdrawn don't seem to have any names listed.
Yeah, I wonder if those are maybe the ones that had issues.
You could probably, I don't want to get too Sherlock. You might be able to even go back further in the earlier edits and find out like where those sites were if you really wanted to get into cross.
Just like dig right into ct.gov. And so for those of you who aren't familiar with how ct.gov works, there's lots of different ways you can dive in and see historical information. For those who are listening in audio only, it's riveting, I'm sure.
Yeah, sorry. Kind of lends itself to video, but if you want to go down the rabbit hole, maybe you can go look. Either way, I found the whole thing, interesting, not something you hear all the time. Curious to know more about these irregularities at a few study sites, quote unquote, and what that could mean. So if anybody knows, feel free to reach out on the back end. I'd be really curious to know.
Honestly, I just wish all of this was more transparent. I wish our industry as a whole was more transparent, where it's like, it's so cagey. And I get you want to protect IP and you want to protect business interests and, not throwing people under the bus. But like, I feel like this is a field where like we owe the general public more transparency because people are putting the outcomes of this industry into their bodies.
Yeah. But, we got to protect people.
Got to protect the IP and the financial assets.
Yeah, so you got board members and investors who care.
Yep.
All right.
It's interesting. Like, I think I've looked at like trying to run case studies for organizations where it's like you adopted this process or did like used a new software or used a new vendor to do something and it resulted in X improvement of financial gains or different like workflow processes, and folks are super reluctant to actually jump in and say like, yeah, use this as a case study because it showcases all the things they were fucking up before.
Yeah.
And they are nervous for investors and board members to find out that they were dropping the ball so significantly before they adopted these new processes and things.
Well, everyone's got to protect their reputations. That's the most important thing.
Yep, that's what we care about deeply.
All right, very good. Let's move on to some fun Reddit stuff, shall we? I picked this out just because I thought it funny and relatable in some ways. Someone posting that their wife is a CRA. They come home frustrated when a random transient stranger to them forces their unwarranted opinion about the pharmaceutical industry. People will find out they work in clinical research and set off on a rant about Big Pharma And they always play the hits. Pharma doesn't want to cure anything. They only want to treat symptoms, how they approve drugs only to take them off the shelves, how all our bodies need are natural remedies, not to mention all the personal anecdotes presented as scientific legitimacy. And then sort of asking, like, is this common?
And what does Reddit have to say?
I mean, there seems to be, some consensus that seems to be not uncommon. Is it not, not something you've ever experienced?
Oh, for sure. I think that it is. I think once you say like, oh, I work in clinical research, I support the sites who are running the clinical trials, people tend to think more about like their local cancer centers or like people receiving treatments. So it's slightly different. But yeah, I think yes. Although I don't know, I don't think I've gotten quite the venomous replies that some of these people have. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I used to be more, I don't know. I guess I used to like explain less about what I do previously, just because also it's also not that easy. I mean, if you don't know the industry, like it's kind of hard to explain. Say, work in clinical research, they think about a lab, someone working in a lab, explaining that now it's clinical research. We're in the clinics. We test drugs on people. That's where it does start to get a little bit sketchy, because that's, I think, when people start having, opinions about big pharma or this, that, or the other.
Yeah.
And look, I mean, I'll be honest too. Like I've always had a little bit of me that's got a little like hesitancy about, working for big pharma essentially as a site. You're basically collecting data so that they can make a whole bunch of money, which I know that's obviously oversimplification and probably a bit of a cynical way to look at it, but it's also not entirely wrong.
Cynical you?
Yeah, I know. Shocking.
It's interesting. I think, I definitely have gotten that like big pharma bad, especially like back in the day with like the opioid
Sure.
crisis and all of the publicity they got there was like just pushing drugs, don't care about the people, all they care about is the money. And I think that reputation is really stuck. And I think particularly in the US, where you see drug prices that are absolutely insane, where it's like hard to be like what the cost of creating insulin versus the cost of the prescription. People see that and it's like, what even is this? And so like I think there is especially here that perception, whereas like drug prices in other first world countries are not quite, they're more controlled, right? Like more,
right.
So maybe it's like less of a thing there, but I think that certainly is a reputation that they have here. Not necessarily unwarranted in a lot of cases. But I also think too, like there's the understanding of like these pharma companies are running how many trials and how many drugs and how many actually go to market. And so like they have to cover their costs by this concept, and it is expensive to do. And like you can rationalize it any way you want. I still think there's fundamental truth to it.
Yeah. No, it's yes, I know. And again, it's I don't know. It's both still for me. I guess the duality of it, because you do see oftentimes so many decisions that are made based purely on money versus what's good for patients.
But at that point, why villainize pharma? That is the capitalist market we live in.
Yeah, I mean, yes, you can go higher and higher with it. I mean, it's not, pharma is certainly not the only, industry in the world that only cares about profit, but we work in it. So it's a little bit different, a little bit more personal to me.
Yeah, that's fair. It's interesting. I haven't gotten a lot of like the woo-woo response after that. It's more like you're working with big pharma, all they care about is money, not like use natural remedies, like, because that's a weird combo of like science is fake, this is my internet research. Like, and it probably depends on like where you live and the crowds you run in on like what feedback you're getting.
Yeah, that's true enough. And usually, again, I don't get somebody in the comments there was like, your wife just doesn't have to talk to strangers at the airport. That's an easy way to avoid it, which is not wrong. Or some people even say they lie entirely about what they do just so they don't have to necessarily have those conversations.
I put headphones in.
Yeah, I just don't talk to people at the airport. It's easy. Or make up a story,
I sell used cars.
There you go. What do you really want to do? Just say that you do that.
Just start making up
I'm a marine
elaborate life
I'm a
stories.
marine biologist. George Costanza.
I feel like that was the Lisa Frank Seinfeld era where everyone wanted to be a marine biologist.
Right.
That was like the thing to do.
It's never too late.
Right. So this is probably a good time to let you know that I'm going to go back to school.
Godspeed. Save the whales.
Save the whales. Yeah.
There you
Actually,
go.
the whales are having a decent comeback. Some populations are throughout the efforts that have happened in the past decade or so.
See, you're already halfway there. You're
See,
already halfway
look at
there to
that.
being a marine biologist.
Animal facts.
Random
Animal
whale facts.
Mm-hmm. Rent free up in the brain there.
That's how that works.
Sure
All right.
is.
Note to file listeners, follow your dreams. If you want to be a marine biologist, then do that. You don't have to be a CRA.
Sure don't.
All right. That's all I got. You got anything else?
No, I'm just like going through like, what would it mean to be a marine biologist? What would that look like? I mean, to be fair, I do have a friend who went and got their graduate degree to be a marine biologist, like did all the things, went to Australia, Great Barrier Reefs, all that shit. And they work 2 part-time jobs for the local DNR because ain't a whole lot of jobs for those marine biologists.
I would say, it's probably slim pickings out there, but
especially in Wisconsin, the whole marine part of it is not
particularly
relevant.
Tricky. You might want to move to a coast. I don't know. Or
got some big lakes though.
There you go. See, probably some unexplored lake out there.
There you go. Perfect.
All right. Very cool. I don't even know what the rest of this year holds in terms of the file, but I know we're working on we'll be working on getting the new year booked out and some new fun guests. I know we've already got some people penciled in. You'll hear about those as they get booked. Anything else exciting?
No, we might have like 1 or 2 more guests towards the end of the year here, kind of just depending. I know with holiday schedules and such, it gets tricky to get folks with like traveling and whatnot, end of the year shit. So I think we have a couple folks we might throw on the books for the last half of the year. But yeah, then I think we're really going to be looking towards the first quarter next year to see like where to open up. And so I guess also call for folks if you have things you want to chat about and you want to come on Note to File, you think you have something you want to say, let us know, and happy to see what we can do to get folks on.
Very good. All right, guys. Until next time.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to Note to File. We're committed to continuing to bring you independent and unfiltered coverage of the clinical trial industry.
We want to talk about what you want to hear. So if you have something on your mind, hit us up at notetofilepodcast.com.